Good morning. It is good to be with you. I'm Jessica Layton, in for Joe and Savannah today. We begin this morning with those major developments in the search for Nancy Guthrie, the mother of our NBC News colleague, Savannah Guthrie. She vanished from her home in Arizona 11 days ago. A person detained last night for questioning in connection with Nancy's disappearance has been released. Now, that is according to the New York Times and other news outlets. The Pima County Sheriff's Department declining to comment when asked by NBC News about those reports. But this development comes after the FBI unveiled chilling new surveillance photos and videos of a person that they are calling a potential subject in the investigation. These images show a masked person wearing gloves and a backpack appearing to tamper with the camera on Nancy's front door the morning she disappeared. FBI Director Kash Patel says that person was armed. So far, law enforcement has not said whether there is any connection between the person they detained and the person seen in this video. NBC News correspondent Dana Griffin joins me now from Tucson with the very latest on this investigation. Dana, good morning. What else do we know about this person who has been reportedly released after being taken in for questioning?
Hey, Jess. So, yeah, this happened all around 9 o'clock last night. Investigators arresting and then hours later releasing this man. He identifies himself as Carlos. The Pima County Sheriff's Office saying that they held him in question and for some time after that traffic stop. And then they also searched a home nearby in Rio Rico, Arizona. That's about 20 miles from the Mexico border. So that man, again, who identified himself as Carlos, says that he does not know Nancy, but he also said that he hopes that they get the suspect because he says it's not him. The sheriff's office is not commenting, saying that the investigation was completed last night into that search of the property. And at this hour, still no sign of Nancy and what may have happened to her. Jess.
And Dana, we know that all of this came after the release of those photos and those surveillance videos that were so chilling. How did law enforcement finally manage to recover that? Because we know that that had been an issue for the past more than a week. And how would you say this changes the entire trajectory now of the investigation?
Oh, it changes everything. The FBI said after those images were released, their tips dramatically increased. And that's exactly what they want in this case, to try to help identify this person. I mean, you can see him. He's wearing a mask. He's got a backpack with reflectors. He's got gloves on and a gun, according to officials, holstered on his waistband. So they're hoping that anyone who sees this will identify something about this person, maybe by the clothing. You can see the light colored shoes, the pants, the zip up jacket. Maybe this can help in some way. And so according to FBI Director Kash Patel, he says that they were able to work with private companies to secure this footage. They used some sort of back-end system. These were images that were previously inaccessible, and we thought that we would never see them. But this is a major leap, the first major significant clue into the person who officials say were outside of Nancy's home the morning she went missing and may have some knowledge about what happened to her. Jess?
So obviously there's so much concern across the country, Dana, for not only Nancy, but also Savannah, because she is such a public figure. How do we know about how Savannah is reacting to the release of these key pieces of evidence in the search for her mom?
So she posted 2 Instagram posts yesterday, one including the images, the second including the videos. And she goes on to write, "Someone out there recognizes this person. We believe she is still out there. Bring her home." And obviously, Savannah is trying to make sure that people keep the story alive and say, hey, if you live in Tucson or beyond, look at these images. We need her. She says she believes that her mother is still alive, and they are just banking and hoping that someone out there is paying attention and gives that tip that could lead to the person identified here on this video. You can see, again, there's kind of a glare, but it appears there's a flashlight in this person's mouth. But if you see the eyes, the build, whatever this person is wearing, if any of this looks familiar, you're asked to call the FBI. Their tip line is 1-800-CALL-FBI. There's a $50,000 reward that leads to an arrest or a conviction and the safe return of Nancy. So, you know, we're at a desperate hour right now. It has been more than a week since she was missing, and we know that she's got mobility issues. She's in need of life-saving medication. So Savannah is just pleading with the public out there to help authorities find her mom.
Dana, thanks so much. Let's hope that this is that major break that we have been hoping for. And for more analysis on the investigation, let's bring in retired FBI hostage negotiator and CEO of the convincing company, Chip Massey, and also digital forensics expert Heather Barnhart. Good morning to you both. Chip, I want to start with you. After the doorbell camera video was released, the FBI said they saw a big increase in the number of tips they received. When you look at this video, the way this person is moving, kind of carrying himself, how significant is this piece of evidence, and what can it tell us about this guy's skill level?
Yeah, that's a very good point, Jessica, because what we're seeing now is before yesterday when I was talking to you guys, we didn't have any of these images. We didn't have anything except the emails that were being parsed through, the family's videos. Now we have so much more information. And you can tell by the way this man is moving. The way he lumbers up to the camera area, to where the front door is. Clearly he's trying to disguise how he walks. That's not going to work. There is so much here we're going to be able to know his height, likely his weight, his shoe size, and the clothes he's wearing. All these become identifiers. The law enforcement is going to start going through. They probably already have it. Where those gloves were purchased, where his coat was, what kind of shoes these are, what size his feet are, and in that video, you'll see where he goes and he's turning around and he goes awkwardly to the front area, pulls up some shrubs and holds them up to the camera. There's a lot of indecision in this. In other words, this is not somebody who is extremely competent in what he does. It's not that professional, in other words. So there are many things about this, but here's the thing. This guy, somebody knows. Somebody is going to look at these pictures and this video and be able to identify him. It's one of those things, right? When you're at some kind of event, you're at a restaurant or something, you see somebody from behind that you instantly recognize them. Why? Because you know that person. You know their gait. You know how they move around. Trust me, somebody knows them, and we urge you to call that tip line.
And thank goodness that this video and these pictures are finally out there. Heather, we know the cameras were tampered with on the property, but still people want to know why it took more than a week, 10 days really, for the FBI to recover and then release the images. Walk us through how difficult this material was to find.
If she had a subscription and the cameras were still attached to her home, this could have been done quickly, within hours, and examiners would be able to look at that. But because the cameras were tampered with, one was taken, and the back end footage, law enforcement can't request what they don't know exists. So if you had that camera right there, they could get search warrants, they would have access to it. But because this was back end data from a repository where the camera was recording, it can be life-saving in this instance. But if law enforcement had known, I'm sure it would have been requested and they would have had access to it days ago.
Heather, let's talk about details. From a digital forensic standpoint, is the quality of these images good enough to be able to figure out what kind of brand of jacket or ski mask or backpack that person is wearing?
Absolutely. And this is typical on what this kind of footage looks like. The fact that the subject here walks away and keeps approaching the camera, and as you two just stated, he gave a full view of what he looked like, what his backpack brand is, what his clothing looks like, his gait, his stature, even his mannerisms right there as he's walking back and indecisively trying to do something. Someone will be able to identify who this is. And I really think we can use AI to potentially get ideas on what he may look like with his mask off.
Chip, now that we have these images and they are being shared all over the world, really, how might it change the direction of the investigation? What would you say is likely on law enforcement's to-do list today that maybe wasn't on their radar yesterday?
Oh, yes, exactly, Jessica. They've got now so much more information. And the interesting part about this now is that, the kidnappers, the abductors, they had a little bit more room to function before this video came out. there's so many factors in this. The mother is medically fragile. She is older. There are so many things that the kidnappers have to account for in her environment. So they have to keep her well. They have to look after her. That's a lot. And a lot wherever they're holding her, that property, they have to be very careful about their comings and goings. But now that we have this video, their world, the abductors' world, got very, very small. That they're now under a microscope, and the pressure is on them now. So because they know somebody is going to be able to identify who this guy is, just like they said. So please, we ask you emphatically, call that tip line. Somebody knows him.
And then finally, Heather, the ransom notes have been a huge topic of conversation this week. What goes into verifying whether those emails or the crypto accounts that they wanted the ransom money deposited into are actually connected to the disappearance? How do we know if they are all legitimate or not?
One of the easiest approaches is to look at the email headers and reach out to those service providers to identify if they're legitimate or not. Now, crypto is a little bit more difficult. Criminals and others get crypto to remain anonymous. That's the whole point of it. It's fast-moving transactions. It's really difficult to track. So one person could easily set up 5 crypto wallets and they're gone within minutes.
Chip Massey and Heather Barnhart, you have both given us so much analysis and some important takeaways from this major developing story this morning. Thank you both so much. Turning to politics now, and just released this morning, an NBC News Decision desk poll of nearly 22,000 adults showing President Trump's job approval rating remains underwater, with 39% approving, 61% disapproving. Immigration had been one of his strongest issues, but his numbers on the handling of border security now nearly match his overall approval. That is a major shift that could make the White House take some notice. Respondents feel enforcement has gone too far. They also mostly blame the Trump administration for the recent unrest we've seen in Minneapolis. And that comes as NBC News has learned the Justice Department tried and failed to secure an indictment against 6 Democratic lawmakers over a video urging military and intelligence officials to refuse unlawful orders. For more on all this, let's bring in NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz. Megan, good morning. Let's start with this major development that the Justice Department trying and failing to indict those 6 lawmakers over the video. How unusual is it for a federal grand jury to decline to indict in a case like this? And then what exactly happened here?
Yeah, good morning. So U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office had tried to bring this case initially. And just to set the scene here, this comes, as you mentioned, months after those lawmakers had released a video telling military and intelligence community people that they had to refuse illegal orders. Now, President Trump at the time had slammed this video, calling it seditious behavior punishable by death. Now those lawmakers who had appeared in that video are speaking out after these failed indictments, criticizing the Trump administration for weaponizing the Justice Department in their words and pursuing a case like this, and also calling it an abuse of power here. Now, the Justice Department has previously tried to bring other cases against the president's political opponents. Not all of those cases have been successful, though. For example, the Justice Department tried to bring cases against New York Attorney General Letitia James, former FBI Director James Comey. Those cases had ultimately been tossed by a judge. Now, NBC has also previously reported that the Justice Department tried and failed 2 more times to secure indictments against Letitia James. So it's not entirely unprecedented here for the Justice Department to not be able to secure indictments like this.
Megan, we saw hearings on Capitol Hill yesterday get really heated. Attorney General Pam Bondi is testifying before a congressional committee later today, which, of course, comes against the backdrop of this failed indictment. What do you think lawmakers will press her on?
Yeah, so this is an oversight hearing, so lawmakers can press her on all of these hot button topics. Things like those failed indictments will likely come up. But one of the big issues that we're expecting to hear from lawmakers on is the Justice Department's handling of the Epstein files. Remember, this hearing comes just days after the Justice Department has released millions more documents related to the Epstein files. Now, for critics of the administration's handling of all of this, they're pushing for more documents to be released and more transparency from the Trump administration. So Thomas Massie, for example, a Republican, had told CNN this week about some of the things that he hoped to press Attorney General Pam Bondi on, things like where are the rest of these documents, pressing her on things about why some victim information had accidentally been released in those documents, and questions about redactions in those documents as well. Now, also today, we're expecting some Epstein survivors to be on Capitol Hill again, keeping this topic front and center during this hearing today. Now, Attorney General Pam Bondi had previously testified before lawmakers this past fall. That had gotten pretty tense at times. Ultimately, it lasted longer than 4 hours, so we could be in for a fairly lengthy hearing today, Jessica.
Megan, I want to go back to the new poll numbers that we talked about and voters seeming to blame the Trump administration over border security and the recent unrest that we've seen, especially in Minnesota, especially against the backdrop of this being a midterm election year. What kind of snapshot is this giving us into the political moment that we are at right now?
Yeah, that's right. So on your screen, you can see how voters are feeling about who deserves most of the blame for the clashes and unrest in Minnesota. Remember, this poll had been conducted in the aftermath of Renee Good and Alex Preddy being shot and killed. So the Trump administration, voters had said, deserves most of the blame. One of the big numbers that I want to point you to, though, is the percentage of U.S. adults who strongly disapprove of the president's handling of border security and immigration, as well as you see on your screen, people who think that U.S. immigrations and customs enforcement should be reformed or abolished. Most voters said that they should be reformed or abolished, as opposed to less than a third saying that they should continue in its current form, Jessica.
Megan Leibowitz with so much information for us this morning. Thanks so much. It has now been 12 days since the Department of Justice released more than 3.5 million documents relating to Jeffrey Epstein, and new details keep coming to light. And they include a new revelation that an official said President Donald Trump warned local law enforcement in Florida about Epstein 20 years ago. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson has those details.
Newly released documents say President Trump personally warned officials about Jeffrey Epstein decades ago. An FBI interview summary describing how President Trump called the then Palm Beach police chief to tell him, "Thank goodness you're stopping Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone has known he's been doing this." Adding people in New York knew Epstein was disgusting.
He kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning.
But President Trump said this in 2019.
No, I had no idea. I had no idea.
The former Palm Beach police chief, Michael Ryder, not commenting to NBC News, but telling the Miami Herald the interview with Donald Trump happened in the summer of 2006. According to the document, the president told Ryder he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Mr. Trump said he got the hell out of there, and added about Epstein's convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, she is evil, and to focus on her. Newly released video shows Maxwell, now in prison, declining to answer lawmaker questions Monday.
I invoke my Fifth Amendment right to silence.
It's coming as Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's under fire for his connection to Epstein, his former next-door neighbor, last year saying this about a 2005 visit.
My wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
But DOJ records show Lutnick did interact with Epstein again.
Did you, in fact, make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies.
Lutnick has not been accused of wrongdoing in connection with Epstein, saying he had no relationship with and barely anything to do with Epstein.
Hallie Jackson, NBC News.
All right, Hallie, thank you. Well, finally, temperatures seem to be warming up from the southwest to the southeast and even here in New York. For more, let's take a look at your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Andrea Romero joining us now. Andrea, you are the bearer of good news today.
Yeah, all week you've been asking me, when is it going to warm up? Well, it seems like most of us will be enjoying above average temperatures, 15 to 25 degrees, and that's extending all the way from the southwest into the Rockies, into the Mississippi Valley, and into the southeast, even extending up into the Midwest and the high plains. Here in the northeast, it's warmer. It's closer to average. The temperatures are going to be close to 40 in the New York City metro area this afternoon, so that's really close to average. And in other areas, we can see those temperatures that are a lot warmer. We're looking at temperatures in the 70s and the 60s along Texas and along the Gulf Coast states, even into the Florida area. Daytona Beach, for example, 74 degrees is expected this afternoon as the high temperature. We're expecting temperatures in the 50s in parts of Kansas. Tomorrow, the warmth will continue. In the northeast, the temperatures will drop a little bit, but it will still be tolerable into the weekend. As we can see, the temperatures will be hovering around average for this time of year. Now, we do have that unsettled weather pattern continuing across the west. Rain showers. We have the risk of some flash flooding still in parts of California, and that rain and that snow will be spreading into the Rockies. Light snow for elevated areas of Utah and Colorado is expected tomorrow, but those areas do need snow, and a bit of rain is expected in the valleys. We do have some New England snow that will be impacting the area this morning. We can see that lake effect snow coming off of Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. We're looking at those winter weather advisories that are in effect, and we're expecting accumulations possibly of up to half a foot in those regions.
I think we're going to see a lot of T-shirts and shorts in the Northeast today because it is just, I mean, a 30-degree increase over the last few days is amazing.
Well, considering that this weekend we were with temperatures that were feeling 20 degrees below zero, and now we're in the 40s, that's a big jump.
That's a huge jump. Andrea, thanks so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.